What's up, everybody? We're on day 196 of our Bible in a Year series. Continuing on today, we're actually starting in the book of Ecclesiastes. A little bit shorter. I think we're only going to have like 4 days in Ecclesiastes. But Ecclesiastes is, it's, I think, general consensus is it's written by Solomon as well. Ecclesiastes actually wrestles with this idea of basically life without God is in vain. Like it's all vain. And that phrase actually comes up a few times of vanity, vanity, everything's vanity. And so it's this idea that your life is it is a very fleeting thing. It's very temporary. It's here and it's gone. And the idea that without God, it's almost pointless, and that life is a gift from God. A couple of key takeaways that we'll see in Ecclesiastes is the emptiness of life without God, the cycles and limits of life, the sovereignty of God, and the idea that we should enjoy life as a gift. So, Ecclesiastes is a good one. I think it's a good one for where we're at in our world as far as like looking at our culture, society, and kind of where we are, and in many places a very, very godless society. And so, yeah, we'll jump right in. Um, Ecclesiastes chapter 1. The words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Absolute futility, says the teacher. Absolute futility, everything is futile. What does a person gain for all his efforts that he labors at under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets. Panting, it hurries back to the place where it rises. Gusting to the south, turning to the north, turning goes the wind, and the wind returns in its cycles. All the streams flow to the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place where the streams flow, there they flow again. All things are wearisome, more than anyone can say. The eye is not satisfied by seeing, or the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun. Can one say about anything, look, this is new? It has already existed in the ages before us. There is no remembrance of those who came before, and those who will come after. There will also be no remembrance by those who follow them. This idea that there's nothing new under the sun. I remember hearing this when I was younger, and it really stuck with me. And so, as new things come out, new technologies come out, new our society moving in different directions, things like that. Really trying to process this idea that there's nothing new under the sun in different avenues or different areas of life, and I think if you really try to sit down and process this, you can see it a lot in all different areas. Um, our society currently is in the West is a very it has been a very, very godless society. Now I do think there is some shifting there. I think that there is some coming back to God, somewhat, um, but that is we are sacrificing babies in our society, and that's something that's been going on since the dawn of time. Um, Powerful people, wealthy people getting away with really, really atrocious things. That has been going on since dawn of time, right? As long as there have been people to be wealthy or people to get away with things, this has been going on. Um, so it's interesting if you take that and try to try to look at the world around you through that lens, and like things that have happened over the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 years, and where we're at today, and try to see that specific line play out. Verse 12. I, the teacher, have been king over Israel in Jerusalem. I applied my mind to examine and explore through wisdom all that is done under heaven. God has given people this miserable task to keep them occupied. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun and have found everything to be futile, a pursuit of the wind. What is crooked cannot be straightened, what is lacking cannot be counted. I said to myself, see, I have amassed wisdom far beyond all those who were over Jerusalem before me, and my mind has thoroughly grasped wisdom and knowledge. I applied my mind to know wisdom and knowledge, madness and folly. I learned that this too is a pursuit of the wind. I tried to say mine. Pursuit of the wind, for with much wisdom is much sorrow. As knowledge increases, grief increases. Chapter 2. I said to myself, go ahead, I will test you with pleasure. Enjoy what is good. But it turned out to be futile. I said about laughter, it is madness. And about pleasure, what does this accomplish? I explored with my mind the pull of wine on my body, my mind still guiding me with wisdom, and how to grasp folly, until I could see what is good for people to do under heaven during the few days of their lives. I increased my achievements. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made gardens and parks for myself and planted every kind of fruit tree. I lost my spot. Okay, verse 6. I constructed reservoirs for myself from which to irrigate a grove of flourishing trees. I acquired male and female servants and had slaves who were born in my house. I also owned livestock, large herds and flocks, more than all who were before me in Jerusalem. I also amassed silver and gold for myself, and the treasure of kings and provinces. I gathered male and female singers for myself, and many concubines, the delights of men. So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. My wisdom also remained with me. All that my eyes desired, I did not deny them. I did not refuse myself any pleasure, for I took pleasure in all my struggles. This was my reward for all my struggles. When I considered all that I had accomplished and what I had labored to achieve, I found everything to be futile. In a pursuit of the wind, there was nothing to be gained under the sun. Then I turned to consider wisdom, madness, and folly, for what will the king's successor be like? He will do what has already been done, and I realize that there is an advantage to wisdom over folly, like the advantage of light over darkness. Now also take into account reading this with what we've already read in Proverbs, and the emphasis put on wisdom over foolishness, on the wise over the fool. Right? So this is kind of a prequel, if you will, to Proverbs. So Proverbs, we have the wisdom there, right? And now we're seeing like he's saying here, I did not deny myself any pleasure, anything that my eyes wanted, I got. And then he gets to, or is that verse 12? No, yeah. Verse 12. Then I turned to consider wisdom, madness, and folly, for what will the king's successor be like? He will do what has already been done. And I realize that there is an advantage to wisdom over folly, like the advantage of light over darkness. So he's saying here, like he's doing all this stuff, and he's realized, like, whoever takes over next is going to do all this same stuff. And it's all stuff that's already been done. And that's when, he realized that there's an advantage of wisdom over folly. And so it's interesting to think of it like that, kind of pairing those two off and thinking of Ecclesiastes as a kind of a prequel to, I say prequel, a precursor, I guess you could say, to Proverbs. Verse 14, the wise person has eyes in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. Yet I also know that one fate comes to them both. So I said to myself, what happens to the fool will also happen to me. Why then have I been overly wise? And I said to myself that this is also futile. For, just like the fool, there is no lasting remembrance of the wise. Since in the days to come both will be forgotten, how is it that the wise person dies just like the fool? Therefore I hated life because the work that was done under the sun was distressing to me. For everything is futile. Futile. How do you say it? I've said both. Futile. Futile sounds more fancy, I think. For everything is futile in the pursuit of the wind. I hated all my work that I labored at under the sun, because I must leave it to one who comes after me, and who knows whether he will be wise or a fool. Yet he will take over all my work that I labored at skillfully under the sun. This too is futile. So I began to give myself over to despair concerning all my work that I had labored at under the sun, where there is a person whose work was done with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, and he must give his portion to a person who has not worked for it. This too is futile and a great wrong. For what does a person get with all his work and all his efforts that he labors at under the sun? For all his days are filled with grief, and his occupation is sorrowful. Even at night his mind does not rest. This too is futile. There is nothing better for a person than to eat, drink, and enjoy his work. I have seen that even this from God's hand, because who can eat and who can enjoy life apart from him? For the person who is pleasing in his sight, he gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy. But to the sinner, he gives the task of gathering and accumulating in order to give to the one who is pleasing in God's sight. This too is futile and the pursuit of the wind. Think of that line, a pursuit of the wind, chasing after the wind. What is the wind there? So I mean, he is literally saying this is all something that you are chasing after that you will never actually be able to catch. Ever. It is literally impossible to catch the wind. Chapter 3. Is there an occasion for everything, and a time for every activity under the sun? A time to give birth and a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to avoid embracing, a time to search and a time to count as lost, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What does the worker gain from his struggles? I have seen the task that God has given the children of Adam to keep them occupied. He has made everything appropriate in its time. He has also put eternity in their hearts. But no one can discover the work God has done from the beginning to the end. I know that there is nothing better for them than to rejoice and enjoy the good life. It is also the gift of God whenever anyone eats, drinks, and enjoys all his efforts. I know that everything God does will last forever. There's no adding to it or taking from it. God works so that people will be in awe of him. Whatever is has already been, and whatever will be already is. However, God seeks justice for the persecuted. I also observed under the sun there is wickedness at the place of judgment, and there is wickedness at the place of righteousness. I said to myself, God will judge the righteous and the wicked. Since there is a time for every activity and every work, I said to myself, this happens so that God may test the children of Adam, and they may see for themselves that they are like animals. For the fate of the children of Adam and the fate of the animals is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. They all have the same breath. People have no advantage over animals, since everything is futile. All are going to the same place, all come from dust, and all return to dust. Who knows if the spirits of the children of Adam go upward and the spirits of the animals go downward to the earth? I have seen that there is nothing better than for a person to enjoy his activities, because that is his reward. For he can enable him to see what will happen, or for who can enable him to see what will happen after he dies. Okay. Now, again, this is a focus on if there is no God, nothing matters. It's all futile, right? And this is like, and he ends this last verse here in chapter 3 really hits that. I've seen that there is nothing better for a person to enjoy his activities, because that is his reward. For who can enable him to see what will happen after he dies? That is his reward, to just enjoy what he's doing. There's nothing else after that. So this is the kind of the main, or one of the main points of Ecclesiastes here. But let us jump into our questions. Question 1. Ecclesiastes 1:14 says, I have seen everything that is done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and a striving after wind. What does this reveal about the limits of human achievement and understanding? I touched on this idea of striving after the wind already, but think about this in the 2 points I want to bring up here. Think about this specifically in the context of pursuing or achievements, right? Things that you do. So there are people that we are aware of from the past, right? So I live in America. I've been in America my entire life, and there's historical figures we know. I was born and raised in Illinois. Abraham Lincoln was a big one. Most people are aware of Abraham Lincoln, even outside of Illinois. But Abraham Lincoln was a big one. George Washington, most Americans know. There's a lot of historical figures there. Even they, though, think about outside of the U.S. Most people probably don't know the name George Washington. Some maybe. But the further you get removed from those people and what they kind of helped to start, the less likely you are to be remembered. Everything goes away. So you can do all this stuff trying to make a name for yourself. You can amass all this wealth, make all these contributions, but ultimately, when you die, it is a matter of time before you are gone from history. You are removed from the mind of anyone. It's just a matter of time. That is this striving after the wind. Ultimately, everything that I have ever done, everything I will do, all of this, like, everything's going to be gone. It's going to be wiped away. There's going to be no I can't think of the word. No trace of Jesse anymore. It'll be gone completely. Now, if that's all you have, that's, a rather depressing sentiment. But as a Christian coming into this, we know there is more than just this life. We know that this life isn't even a flicker of light compared to what is coming. And there's even this whole idea makes me think of a quote. I can never remember who originally said it, but I love it, and that's what I try to do with this podcast and everything else I do. It is preach the gospel, die, be forgotten. I'm not trying to build up myself. I'm not trying to build up anything around me or anything that I do. I want to spend as much time as I can pointing as many people to Jesus as I can, and that's it. Because ultimately, that's what really matters. Without that, nothing matters. Question 2. In Ecclesiastes 3, we're told that God has put eternity into man's heart. How do you think this longing for something eternal shapes our desires, frustrations, and search for meaning? I think this gets at the idea that innately inhuman. So there are some uh, pop atheists, as I guess what I'll call them, popular atheists. Ricky Gervais is one, and has he talks about how all even babies are born atheists. Essentially, is the point he gets at, and um, that's not actually true. And basically, what he's trying to get at is that we have created this idea of God, that this isn't something that you just naturally, normally believe. But I would say the fact that you go back for all recorded history, people have had some God or higher power or deity. So the normal state of things would actually be that you would assume that there is something divine there. I think there is something in us that makes us think that there is something else out there, that there is some type of a divine creating force or a divine creator that is out there that you have to intentionally suppress. It's not something that just goes away on its own. You have to decide that you're going to ignore that. I think it's there. I think it's placed there by God, and I think anyone that says that it just doesn't exist, I think they're lying and they've just suppressed it. I think that leads us to search for meaning, something more than just the mundane workings of our normal everyday life. Question 3. These chapters encourage us to enjoy work in daily life as gifts from God. How can we learn to embrace life with gratitude even when we don't fully understand God's plan? Every day above ground's a good day, right? this, um, this is viewing life as a gift. Eventually, um, I am fully aware. Eventually, one day I'm going to be gone, and my kids will be gone. My eventual grandkids will be gone, and everything I have ever done, everything I've ever worked for, everything, all of it is just gone. The only way to have any type of an impact beyond that is eternally, and that is, like I said, pointing people to Jesus. Um, I think we don't want to. Our goal shouldn't be to make an impact. At least not in the sense that you're wanting to do something that's going to bring your name into people's minds, but make an impact. Yes, bringing people to Christ. I want to bring people to Christ so that they can bring people to Christ, so that they can bring people to Christ. Ultimately, it's not about them passing my name. They could they could hear something from me and never mention my name, and they could go on to bring hundreds or thousands or whatever people to Christ, and that is perfectly fine that they never mention me, never credit me, never say anything about me. None of it. That's fine. That's amazing if they're able to do that. If they are able to do that because of something that I said, that is phenomenal. If God was able to use me in that way. Um, so enjoy the temporary gift that we have here, knowing that eventually there is more to come. Yeah, Ecclesiastes is good. It's I think it is a book that does not get enough credit. Enough people like reading it, talking about it. It is a book I enjoy. I think part of it is my I have a lean towards apologetics and things like that, and so I do think that maybe kind of helps my like for the book of Ecclesiastes. But yeah, it'll be good. Like I said, we've only got like 4 days in Ecclesiastes. We'll do about 3 chapters a day, so it'll be good, but it'll be short, and you're gonna want to come back tomorrow because it's gonna be good. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as all those things help the channel grow. If this has been a blessing to you, you can share it with somebody else. It can be a blessing to them, and word of mouth is the best way that podcasts grow as well. So that can be something that helps this channel as well. Come back every single day. We're going to have more content every single day. Bible reading plan. We're going through the Bible an entire year, different teachings, all kinds of just really great biblical sound stuff like that. So you're not going to want to miss it. Come back, subscribe. Thanks. God bless.